Hi everyone, it's Michelle here, and it's the one that we've all been waiting for. Now, normally I do have my project here in front of me so you can see what it is that we're going to be creating, but because the birdhouse is so big, I've just got it stood off to the side just a little bit. So um, let's see if we can, there we go, look. You can see that lovely birdhouse. So we're going to be creating this, and I promise you, it's so much easier than you think it's going to be. Breaking down all those different elements. So let me bring it back in again. You're going to break it down. We're going to do the base. We're going to do, I'm going to call it a spine then. We're going to do this stand. Then we're going to do this part here. And then if I bring it further down, we're going to do the birdhouse, and you can see that the roof lifts off. So all these separate elements are very easy to sort of create. I'm going to show you how easy they are to create. And then when you put them all together, you've got this amazing birdhouse. So let me just move that out of the way. And we'll get started. So we'll get started with the exciting bit. We'll do the birdhouse top first. So my original one was with those beautiful graphic 45 papers, Grow with Love. Now I only had the one pad, the 12 by 12 pad, and I had a couple of the little embellishment packs. That's all gone. With everything that I've created, that's all gone. So for me to do the tutorial, we're going to use a different paper pad, and we're going to use the Ciao Bella papers. So the Ciao Bella papers, this is the Morning in Provence, and you can see how beautiful. I've been playing a lot with this collection lately, so you've probably seen it lots as well. So we're going to pop that bit to the side just for now, because we're going to start with this bit. And you can see straight away I've got some pieces cut, which is going to be the front of my birdhouse. I'm going to show you how to do these. But the first piece that I've cut is a piece of white card. And then this is my patterned paper that's going to go on top. Look, when it catches the light, it's just beautiful, isn't it? So let me pop these to the side for now, and that as well. And then what we need to start with is we need two pieces of card. So it's 6 inches wide by 7 inches high. And the pattern paper is going to be exactly the same as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to find my pencil, because I was very organised up until I started doing it, and then now I can't find anything. But it's usually the case, isn't it? I've got an inches ruler. I always work in inches. But I'm going to use my glass mat to start with. So, because I can make my little notches that I need on here. So it's 6 inches wide by the 7 inches high. Okay, and what we're going to do is 1 inch in, I'm going to put a little pencil mark there. And then 1 inch in from that side as well, we're going to pop a little pencil mark. And then at the top, 3 inches in, so right in the middle, that is where we need a pencil mark as well. And then I'm going to just turn it round, because 4 inches up, we're going to pop a pencil mark there. And on that side as well, I'm going to pop a pencil mark. Now, this next bit is up to you. You can draw those lines in if you want. I don't tend to, but I'm going to draw them in so you guys can roughly see the birdhouse shape that we're coming with, or we're coming to. So let me just make sure that I'm lining that up nice and straight. There we go. Last one I'm going to draw on for you. And then there you go. So, can you see that birdhouse? I know it's hard to pick up that pencil. I didn't want to draw it on too hard, but you can just about see it, can't you? So if I don't need my scoreboard, do I need my paper trimmer? So bring in my paper trimmer in. I'm going to follow those lines. If you haven't put the lines in, you've just got the notches. You're just going to line the notches up on that little gully, that little channel where your blade is going to go. So you're going to follow it all the way round. So that's the top bit. We're going to come round and follow it all the way round. And then this last pencil line here. Oh, just line it up. There we go. So that is it. You just start off with that rectangle piece. In fact, I'll show you how I came up with it. You can see that I've just roughly drawn that shape. You know what I'm like with my technical drawing. I'm brilliant, as you can see, but I just drew a rectangle and I knew roughly the sizes that I wanted. So I just worked it from there. So literally, let me bring this in. I don't know if you'll be able to see with this. So I drew my rectangle, okay? And I knew that I wanted it sort of roughly 7 inches high, and it was going to be by 6 inches. So I knew that by the time I put those two notches there, that inside bit would be 4 inches. And then I just roughly just drew it out and then I could work it out. I knew that across there would be the 6 inches. So it doesn't matter how rough your drawing is, as long as you can follow it and you get sort of what it is that you're aiming for, it really doesn't matter how technical and fabulous that drawing is. Right, so I've got this one piece here. I've cut that just a little wonky, so I'm just going to bring that back in and I'm just going to pop it back on there. Just straighten that up just the tiniest little bit. There we go. And we're going to do exactly the same with this piece. So you can pop this piece on here because it's going to mat and layer onto it, and you can draw around it if you want. So if I draw around it, it makes it just a lot easier and a lot quicker. There we go. So again, we're going to pop this in here. Do that one first. I mean, to be honest, you could glue it on the front and then trim it up. It's entirely up to you. As long as you get to the finished bit, the finished project, the finished item, it doesn't really matter, does it? So I did slip a little bit, so I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to turn it over. And I did just that tiniest little bit. But what I'm going to do is once I've glued it on, I can trim that tiny little bit off. I'm just going to bring in an eraser just to get rid of that line. Didn't quite cut straight on, but there you go. So that is it. So you need 2 of those. You need 2 for the front. And then you need, well, that's going to be my back piece. So that's my back piece. So you need 2 white pieces and you need 2 pattern pieces. Now on my original birdhouse, I had right in the middle, I'd cut a circle with just one of my circle dies for the stereotypical, birdhouse where the bird pops in. But I found this piece of paper in my Ciao Bella. I think it's the patterns pad or the paper pad, whichever. But it's got that beautiful clock on, and that beautiful clock is to the side. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm not going to add the circle die in the middle and cut that out. But if I bring this, let me lift the lid off. If I bring this in so you can see what I mean, I've just used a circle die just to cut that hole in there. But for this one, because that pattern is lovely, I'm going to leave it as it is. It doesn't really matter. You can have that there or not. Again, it's all about what design you were sort of looking for. So my front, my back, and then my 2 side pieces couldn't be simpler. They are just 2 pieces of card. So let me pop those there. 2 pieces of card, and it is 5 inches wide by 4 inches high. And then you're going to score on that long side at 1/2 inch on both sides. That's going to create my 2 tabs. So what's going to happen is my front piece, and that's going to be my side piece. And then it's going to attach all the way around, almost like an exploding box, because what we're going to do is we're going to attach them all to this base. We're going to attach them to the sides, and then we're going to glue them up together. It's the easiest way I found to sort of show you how you can pop this together, but not only how you can pop it together, but then how you can go on to create bigger ones or smaller ones. So it's a nice simple way. So we've got 5 inches wide by 5 inches high, and I've got scored all the way round at a 1/2 inch. So we'll bring this in first. So these are my two side pieces, and I'm just going to score those 1/2 inch score lines. And the same with this. Give it a good burnish. So I'm using just white card. That it's a 300 GSM, so it's a nice, lovely, sturdy weight for creating anything like this. So that's my front. That's my back. These are my two side pieces, and then the pattern paper to go on these doesn't need to attach to those tabs. So we're just 4 inches by 4 inches. So you can see it's just going to glue in the middle there. I'm going to bring that one on there as well. So you can see this is all our components to our birdhouse. So we're going to just score and burnish, or fold and burnish these side pieces. And then, there we go. So then all I want to do now is we want to just cut these corners away, because what's going to happen is these are all going to glue on here, and then they're going to stand up and glue together at the sides. Simples. Sounded like that advert then, didn't I? With the meerkats. So I'm just going to trim those corners away, but I'm going to do that little notch. So when it attaches to all the sides, it's going to attach nice and neat. So all 4 sides. And our last one. So there we go. So now what we're going to do is that's going to attach. So I'm going to attach all these to the outsides, and then I'm going to bring in another piece, and it's going to cover it. So it's going to cover that tab. So you've got all those sort of inner workings covered up. But first we need to pop all our pattern papers on. So this is where, if you want to add any stenciling, any texture pastes, anything like that, do it now while it's nice and flat. Makes it so much easier and simple for you. I'm not going to for this one. For the tutorial, we're just going to build it up. The papers are beautiful. Obviously, all that decoration that I did, and again, if I bring this in, all that decoration that I did is just lots of flowers, lots of pearls, lots of beads, lots of texture, lots of ribbon. You can just really build that up. But that's going to take another 2 hours on top of this. So that's for another time. So I'm going to bring in my tacky glue. And I'm going to be very careful with it, because obviously you've got that water content in a tacky glue. So, I mean, I could and should really be using my Collal. But again, as long as you're careful and you're not adding too much glue, then you're not going to get any warping paper or anything like that. So this is where I just need to trim that edge up. Can you just see just where I need to trim that edge up, where I didn't cut where I cut it just a little bit too long. It's so easy once it's on there just to trim it into place or into size. There we go. And then the bottom, just a little. There we go. So that's that one. Let me pop this away, because I really should use my Collal. And then I don't need to worry about warping my paper. So bringing this on, cover it all up. Make sure you get right to those edges. And then, there we go. So that's those two side pieces. I'm going to bring these in, and we will pop that paper on there as well. And again, I know that I've cut that a little bit too big, so I will trim that down once it's on there. Trying to get a new glue bottle out, I think. Nearly done. So pop that on there. And I haven't cut a border. I haven't gone down with that mat in size at all. It's exactly the same. So it's 4 inches by 4 inches. Turn it over and just trim that edge off. And then last one. There we go. Pop that on as well. Okay, just need a tiny little trim at the bottom. Glue everywhere. But it's all right. We're 16 minutes in and I haven't made too much of a mess yet. So the going is good. Right. So what we've got are two side pieces. Turn that round. Front and back, two side pieces, and then our base. So entirely up to you which way you start with this. The side pieces or the front and back, it really doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is you're going to lift that tab up. This is going to slide to there and we're going to bring this over and we're going to glue it down. Now for my tabs, I am going to use my tacky glue, just force of habit. I think it's because I've got it in this pin bottle. I can be quite precise with it. So bringing those two together, bring that up just a little bit and then bring that to meet it. Try that again. And then just give it a second before you move it and then lay it flat and give it a good burnish. Okay, turn it over and have a look at this seam here. Make sure that this isn't too far over or too far up, so you're not seeing any of that tab at all. So if you fold it like that, you can see that it's going to match perfectly there. By folding it like that as well, you get to give it a real good burnish. So that's my front piece. I know my back piece needs to go opposite, so I'm going to turn it round. Again, just because I don't know if it's just because I'm left-handed, but I find it easy to work on this side of a project, if that makes sense. So again, let's pop that glue just on that tab. And I'm going to slide that up and bring that to it. Just give it a second to allow it to grab enough that we can move it about without it falling off. Give it a good burnish and then again, bring it round this way because you've still got enough time to wiggle it up and down so it's not too far over or too far up. It's just right. Said Goldilocks. There we go. So we've got our two side pieces. So I'm going to move that there and we're going to do exactly the same with this. So I'm not sure which is up or down on this. It's sort of a generic pattern. I think it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to pop that there. And again, that's going to glue lovely. But what I'm going to do is I know when I've glued this on and I want to glue this tab here, okay, it's going to fit perfectly. But because I've got a tab there, we need to mitre these corners because we don't want them to be chunky. We don't want lots of card in that corner because it's just a little bit unsightly. And you probably won't see it once everything's matte and layered, but you will feel it. There will be lots of chunkiness in that corner. So you've got to imagine you've got 300 GSM there. Then you're going to have that 300 GSM. If I don't cut this corner away, there's another 300 GSM on top. And then you know that I'm going to bring this in to cover up all those tabs. So in this corner, it's going to be quite bulky and a little unsightly. So as much as you can mitre your corners, then absolutely do that. So let's add that glue. And again, lining that up. Bring it over. And again, I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to make sure again that it's just nice and level for me. And it is. So it's coming together lovely. So you can see now that when I bring this side up, you're going to glue that tab on. You're going to bring that side up, and that is how your birdhouse, how easily your birdhouse comes together. I think my scissors need a bit of a clean. I've got more glue on them. There's more glue on my scissors than these in my glue bottle. So again, on this tab. So on the outside, so what we're doing is this is the inside. You're going to bring your tab up and you're going to glue on the outside of the tab, because then when I bring that there, it's going to fold over and sit perfectly on there. So again, bring it over, make sure it's exactly where you want it to be. Give it a burnish. And that's it. So that is what it should look like for now. You've got these two tabs here. We're going to glue them to there. And these two tabs here are going to glue to there. Because you know that my bird box has got the separate roof. So, again, this is entirely up to you. You could bring those two sides up and glue those two first, or you could glue this side first. I find it easier to do it this way because I can glue both these tabs and bring it up to glue it, and then I can glue both the tabs flat on that side. If I bring that up and just glue those two sides here, then I've got this and I'm sort of having to glue that in midair, if that makes sense. So we'll do one side first and then the other side. But again, you might find it easier doing it that way yourself. So lining that up, if I bring that round for you, you can see it's going to line up absolutely perfect. So tip that up and give that a nice press down here. Move that for you. Don't worry about this. There's plenty of time for us to pop that on. Make sure that this one's nice in line, and then bring this one up and do the same. I'm just going to lean it that way and I'm just going to burnish inside there. There we go. So that's that side all done. I'm going to turn it over, fold our tabs in and pop the glue on those as well. And the other side. There we go. And then while they're still folded in, you can bring them up and tuck them in absolutely perfect. So grabbing that here, I'm going to bring it over, line it up and give it a bit of a burnish. And you can see actually that that one's nearly sat perfectly where it needs to be. So flip that over so I can use my table to burnish that down really well. And then check all my corners. So that is it. Here's the bird box. How easy has that come together? Now, the only other thing I'm going to do is on the inside, I'm going to pop that one and we're going to glue that in. It's going to cover all my tabs up. Because the roof does remove and I've got that little album or that little bag that comes in and out, you want it nice and neat inside. So you can either cut some white paper down and cover all those innards up, or you can put some pattern paper in there, or you can stencil. Before you put these on, you can ink them up, you can stencil them up, texture paste just your inks. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to pop them in white because I think it just really works well with this colour. I think it's just really pretty. White and this kind of colour is so lovely. So again, what I'm going to do is before I commit to gluing that down, it's just a little bit too big. So pop it in there, see how it fits. Actually, that one fits perfectly on the front. Maybe I've cut that for the front and that for the back. It just needs trimming down a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I've just got a little bit hanging over. So I'm going to glue it in and then I'm just going to trim that edge away. So you will definitely, when you're creating anything like this, always you pop things in, pop things on before you commit to gluing anything. So you saw me put this in, measure it to make sure it fit correctly. So when you're creating something big like this, just make sure that you always do that. Put it on before you add the glue. Make sure that you're happy with the fit and the sizing and the matting layer. And then if you are, then commit to the glue, commit to the stick. It sounds very cheesy, but it's very true. So there we go. So that's lovely. Not only does that hide all those tabs on the inside, it gives my birdhouse that little bit of extra strength on the front and on the back because we've got the lid, the birdhouse roof to go on top. So we're going to bring this round again. I'm going to sit that in there. I'm going to make sure that fits fine, which it does. Did anybody else hear the doorbell? Did anybody else here want to sing "There's somebody at the door"? Is that just me? Does anyone else remember that? What was it called? The windmill. Rod. It was Rod. I don't know. It was a children's programme from when I was younger anyway. I absolutely loved it. And when Grotbags the witch used to come, ring the doorbell. I mean, she was a very polite witch. They all used to dance about singing, "There's somebody at the door." And even to this day, every time someone rings the doorbell anywhere, I sing that to myself. I can't help it. It's just like an automatic reaction. I can't be the only one. Let me know in the comments. Am I the only one who sings that when someone knocks at the door or rings? Am I the only one that's slightly a little bit nuts? There we go. So let me just burnish that on the inside. And that is your birdhouse. So if you didn't want to add the rest of it, you've just got a lovely little birdhouse there now on its own, no stand. Obviously I went that extra mile, didn't I? I went that extra step. So we're going to pop that to the side because what we're going to do is we're going to create the roof. So I'm going to move that to the side as well. And I'm going to bring in my bits that we're going to create the roof with. So let me just move my glue. Right, so I've got two pieces for this. Let me just, two pieces of mount board. So they are 5.5 by 6. So if I bring in my roof that way, so each piece is going to be 6 inches wide. My roof is 6 inches wide and it's 5.5 that way. So again, let's pop that there. So I need to make sure that I'm putting my paper or putting my mount board into my pattern paper correct. So 6 inches wide, yeah, that's it. So we're going to do this like we would sort of an album cover, you know, if we were creating an album. We're going to glue these down. We're going to make sure that we've got a little seam in the middle. We're not going to put these together. It's roughly 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch that you will leave in the middle there. And it's going to allow it to fold beautifully, just like that. There we go. So this is where I will use tacky glue. Again, it's water-based, so you'd want to be careful that you don't put too much on, but using this little tin top bottle, you're not going to. And when I pop anything like this on, you need to make sure that your glue goes right to those edges. And then we'll pop that there. making sure that it gives me enough room at both sides. So the piece of pattern paper that I'm using that I've cut down, I've left it at the 12-inch wide and I've cut it down to 7 inches. So my mount board that way is 6 inches and the paper that way is 7 inches. So let's give this a good burnish. I'll turn it over and I'm always going to burnish right up to those edges of the mount board because they're the most important. It's all important, but you need to make sure that they are burnished so well. We're going to bring this one in and we're going to glue that on. Right onto the edges. It's funny how no one makes a noise, no one knocks at the door, no one phones when you're not recording. As soon as you start making a tutorial, it's like Grand Central Station, what my mum used to say. So I'm just eyeing this in the middle. If you remember, I do have that little set, that bookbinding set that I got from Craftalia. I could pop that in the middle to make sure that this is exactly even, but I'm quite happy with that. I think sometimes you make so many of something that you can sort of do it in your sleep, can't you? So I'm quite confident that that's nice and straight and neat. So there we go. So now you know what we're going to do is we're going to fold all those edges over. So what I always tend to do is bring it this way. So I'll bring it up on itself and I fold it over and you get the neatest edge. So I'm going to burnish that. I don't want my glues not fully set, so I don't want my paper popping off. So we're going to turn it back over and fold that out and we're going to do the same with this side. So bringing it up, folding it over and pressing it down. And bring in your bone folder and make sure that it's nice and neat, nice and secure. We're going to do the same with here, this side bit, bringing it up and over. Literally to just rinse and repeat. Make sure that you give that a nice burnish. I'm going to do the same on the far side. Nice burnish. And then you saw that that was already folding beautifully. And then what I am going to do is, if I can find it, here. Okay, so again, I'll show you. I know it was another video that I showed you on, but this is a bookbinding kit. So it's for all your albums. It just allows you, when you're using mount board and you're covering things with it, it allows you to make sure that everything's nice and straight. You've got this that means that you can line things up perfectly. That little, is that a T-square, do I want to call it? It's probably not that, but I think you know what I mean. And then this is my most favourite important bit of that kit because you've got that triangle in the middle. And what it allows you to do is you're going to sit it right over that mount board there. Get that get that cornered, get it on that corner really well. And you're going to cut that corner away. And what it does, it allows you to get the most beautiful, perfect corners. So I got mine, again, I said last time, Craftalia, but I'm pretty sure that Helen Griffin from Craft Stash, I'm pretty sure, because I know she likes to make lots of albums and things, pretty sure she's got her own collection of these. So if you go to Craft Stash or Craftalia, I know that you can get them on there or Google it. You'll find them sort of all over. Right, so what we're going to do now is you either bring your top and your bottom down first or your sides. It doesn't really matter. But when I bring this up, what I want to do is I want to make sure that my corners are going to be nice and neat. So I'm going to press that down there, that little bit of excess card or paper. I'm going to press and push in. And what that's doing is giving me a really clean edge there. So press it down and bring it in. Bring that one over. Press it down and bring it in, because then when I fold that over, and I know it's not glued yet, but when I fold that over, can you see how perfect those corners are? So that is what we're looking for. So I'm going to bring in my tacky glue. We're going to go all the way across right into that edge of that mount board. So, because obviously we want it to glue up the side and across the top. So you need to make sure that you get the glue right along that edge, and then glue the rest of the tab and bring it up and bring it over. By doing it that way, you know you're getting it even all the way down. Bring it over, and again, always going to give it a good burnish with that bone folder. Just move that. And let's do the same on this side. So glue right up to that edge of the mount board and the rest of the tab, and then bring it over that way and give it a good press down. And then again, a good burnish. So before we do these, again, we're going to give that a press down and a push in. I'm going to press that one down and push it in. I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to make sure that I've pushed it in enough that I've got my nice straight corners. If you haven't, sort of open it back up and just tease it in like that. Not too much, just a little bit. And then fold it back over, and then you'll find that you've got really neat edges. So then we can come in again, glue right up to the edge of that mount board, and then the rest of that tab. Making sure that you're happy with those corners, and bring it over. Press it down. A little bit of glue seeping, but that's all right. There we go. So if I bring that over, the edges, so neat. So you can see it's not hard. It's just about being a little finickety. Is that a word? It is now. Just all those tiny little details that we need to really pay attention to. Sure, finickety is a word. I'm sure that's something my mum used to say. Don't be so finickety, she used to say. I don't know. I don't know. Don't ask me. Right, so this is all done, and we need some paper for the inside. So I've said before that I always will wait to cut this length. I've cut it perfectly this way, but the length, I always wait to cut whatever piece that I'm on my albums or anything that I'm going to cover the inside with, because it just depends on how wide you've made this channel here. And again, especially if you're creating an album, if you've got the spine and then two pieces, it can just alter, just by that 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch, it can alter the width that you want to create this, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's exactly the same all the way round. So if I'd have cut this first, so this has now gone to 11 1/4. Sorry, hiccuped there. This is now an 11 1/4 of an inch. So if I'd have pre-cut this down, I probably wouldn't have got the width, leaving the border around the edges the same that way. Does that make sense? So I know that I've left this 1/4 of an inch shorter. So you've also got to remember that when you bring your paper up around the sides, it does make it, again, that tiny little bit bigger. So you saw me cut my mount board, or you saw that I'd said my mount board was 6 inches this way. This is now 6 and not even 1/8, but 6, probably 6 1/8 wide. So again, it all adds that depth onto it. So I'm going to pop this down here. What are we on? So this is 11 3/4. This is 11 1/4. So I'm going to trim this down to 11 inches. And then we will pop it on and see if we're happy with that width. So let's pop it in the middle. And I want a border all the way round exactly the same. So this needs trimming just a tiny little bit more this way. This is literally just a slither that I'm going to take off. And again, I'm being finicky. I think that's the word of the day. So we're just going to go down a tiny little bit at a time until we get to exactly where we want to be. That is perfect for me. Absolutely perfect. So we're going to glue this down. So you can use, I mean, you've seen me in the past use red liner tape on these edges. You absolutely can do that and then add some glue over. But as long as you get your tacky glue all the way up to those edges, then it really doesn't matter. I think if you're, especially if you're a beginner and you're using red liner as well, and you go to place this on and you place it on a little bit wonky, because sometimes we do, the worst thing in the world is not being able to get it back up because you've used that red liner tape. So as long as you are putting your glue all the way up to the edges and you're using a tacky glue because it is so strong, then that's all that really matters. So let's pop this on now. So you saw me put my glue down there and make sure it was right up to the edges. And now what I can do is I can play about with this enough without worrying that I've caught that red liner tape and I can't move anything. I mean, once you've done it a few times and you want to use red liner, absolutely, it's personal preference. Red liner tape, you can get like A4 sheets of double-sided adhesive. Did I say that? Yes, A4 double-sided adhesive sheets. You can use those if you want. As long as your glue is adequate and you know that it's going to do the job you want it to do, it's all that matters. Now, the same on albums as I'm doing here, I'm making sure that that glue, where I've got that, where it's going to be a fold, is really well burnished. I'm not going to fold this until I know that this glue has totally gone off and I've got no worries about accidentally making, because when you fold it up, if your paper bows a little bit, it's nothing more annoying. So making sure it's stuck everywhere it needs to be stuck. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. So I'm going to pop it there. And then I'm going to bring these three in. So these are just going to be for the roof. So what I have done, I've got 3 sheets. They're all 6 inches high. This one's 4 inches wide. This one's 3 inches wide. And this one's 2 inches wide. Now we're just going to score those straight down the middle with the short side. And it's going to go over the roof, almost like tiling. So score that at 2 inches. Score this one at 1.5 inches, all on the short side. And then we're going to score this one at 1 inch. Pop those there. And because this is going on the roof, let me just find my corner punch. I'm just gonna cut all the corners. We're just gonna put that lovely curvature. Yes, another Michelle word, curvature. It's a real word. If it makes sense and people understand what you're saying, isn't that all that matters? So you've got those lovely curved corners. I think if I wrote a book, it would be a dictionary. Michelleisms. Michelle's dictionary. There we go. So just fold all those in half. There you go. So what's going to happen is they're just going to You can do this all the way down. You can, create more if you want, but I just had a few in on the top, in the middle, just again to create texture, to draw your eye to it. Just again for a little bit of fun. So this should be ready to fold now. So where that score line is, or that middle bit, as I'm lifting here, I'm going to gently push in here with my score tool. So lifting a little and then pressing in the middle until it folds lovely. And you can see I've got no popping up of my paper because it's glued down and I've given it enough time. So I've got my lid now, my lid, my roof. So that is the roof. So again, if I bring this in, it's going to sit on there absolutely perfect. And because that I've just done that scar in the middle, I could have this on a roof that sits like that. It could go on a box or a roof that is a lot more narrow, because of the way that it's been created, you can just pop it on whatever size sort of birdhouse, bird box you want. So let's pop that on there. And look at the polka dot is just so beautiful. It's probably making my camera go crazy, but the polka dot is beautiful. So let's pop that there. We're just going to glue these three pieces on. And what I'm going to do is I am only going to glue so much of it, because what it allows you to do then, if I just glue down there and I don't glue the full bit on, you can, if you want to add more texture, you can tuck extra pieces under if you want. I've got lots of die cut elements that you can have tucking under if you want as well. So again, it's just about having a little bit of a play with just all textures and just making people want to, when you're creating something, you want someone to pick it up and have a look. You want it to be tactile. You want people to look and think, oh, that's lovely. And, so adding layers and texture and all that kind of thing really does that for you. Um, you could add ink on the edges to make that stand out. So if I've got, let me find, should I pop a bit of a green on there? Or should we pop a bit of a antique linen? Let's get them both out. Um, just see what ink I've had on there. Oh, that's all right. It's antique linen. So, if you're wanting to add some ink, you would probably have added it beforehand. It doesn't really matter now. But just popping a piece of paper under there, add some ink to the edge, and it automatically will make it stand out. So we'll do the same on this side. And then before I pop these on, we'll do the same to this. So just adding edge. You could bring in your scissors and distress those edges. That always looks nice as well. One of my favourite things to do. I think one of my favourite things to do of distressing edges is because it sort of matches me. A little bit of distress, a little bit rough around the edges. Oh dear. Right. Let me just wipe this ink away. Go. And then we can glue these on. So again, I'm just going to pop glue roughly 1/2 inch either side of my score line and then pop it on. And what happens is, because it's not glued down fully, you get, it lifts a little bit, and again, that texture, that tactileness, because what you can do is, let me find my pokey tool. What you can then do, either before you put it on there or after, but if you've popped it on there and you think, oh, I want it to lift a little bit, just bring in your pokey tool, just curve it round the edge just a little bit at both sides. There you go. And you've got some instant lift there. So you can do that with them all. a little bit more on that bottom one than that second one. Can you see how I've just lifted it a little bit? But then this last piece, what you can do is bring in your foam folder and really curl the bottom bit so it goes out. So when you put it on, it's going to be almost like a fairy house. I don't know, just again, just that different effect, that different texture. So let's pop glue right along this middle bit. Pop it in the middle. And because I've only glued that middle bit, can you see how now, because we've got it coming out a little bit, it adds more dimension. So let me just fold. I'm just pressing that in and on, making sure it's really, really nice and burnished. And you've got lots of texture there now without really having done much. So let's make these sides match the other side just by curling that corner up just a little. Do the same on this one. Just a little bit in the corner and then further in this side. There we go. So then, right, just let that one more second to really grab. But then you can see you've got all that texture where they're not completely flat. Oh, I love it. So if I pop it on there, it's going to sit in the angle that it needs to be. So when you pop it on your roof, if it's not sitting flush on here, just encourage it a little bit more because we've added all those papers now, so it might want to make it come back out a little bit. But there you go. So that's perfect. I mean, looks lovely. So that is the birdhouse. Again, I added lots of ribbon to the edges for this one. So if I bring in mine, all I've done is I've used a stencil and some texture paste and then added some ink over it. I've got another stencil there, a script stencil. I've added some butterfly ribbon. And so I've got a leaf ribbon underneath there. So 3 different kinds of ribbon with 3 different finishes to add all that texture. Again, if it's a bit fussy and you're not quite liking all of the ribbon and texture, you don't have to add it. You can absolutely leave your roof really nice or your projects nice and clean and simple. But I went all out. I've got lots of the tags, the butterfly on there. If I bring this one over, there's a big flower. We've framed the flower, added another flower in the middle of the flower, a little tag, a little stamp there, and again, lots of texture. So that's that first piece done. So the next piece that we're going to do is the middle piece. So let me bring it in. This piece here, let me tip it up for you. That is the box. And it's got the album in it. So that's the piece that we're going to do next. So let me put all my little notes so I know which bit is for what. So for this bit, we've got mount board and we've got pattern paper. So that is going to be the base of the box. This is going to be the lid or the top bit, and then I've got 3 sides because we've got, once that goes on there, I've got the opening where my album's going to go into. Using mount board because for me, the birdhouse has got that bag inside, or you're going to be popping stuff inside, and then to have that on top of just card. If this was just card, I would worry about the weight unless you was really doubling it up. So mount board is the easiest way, the easiest thing that I thought of to do. And again, really simple. I'm going to show you how to do it. 2 pieces at 6 by 6. And then we've got 3 pieces at 6 by 1.5. Very simple. We're going to glue these on all around the edges. Now, I know, as soon as someone says it's very simple, you know straight away you think, it's not. But it is, I promise you. So you can either just glue across there or glue right across the edge, or if that feels a little bit, I'm not sure if I can do it, if it's a little bit finicky for you, put a strip of glue down, spread it out, and just tap that in it. That is going to be more than enough that you want on there. So I'm going to line that right up with the edge of my mount board, and I'm just going to hold it for a second, because again, it takes a little while for your glue to go off. So we want to hold that up and it not be moving. I've just got glue everywhere. So giving that a second, so you can see it's it's grabbed now. If I touch that, I'll breathe. It's gonna fall over. But let me move this round that way, and we're gonna do the same with this. I'm gonna dip that in. I need to dip that edge in as well. So pop this piece on here. And I know I've got it a little bit long. I'm gonna have to trim that down. So before I glue that, to be fair, I didn't listen to my own advice. I should have trimmed that down before I popped it on. But again, pop that there. And now my glue's going nice and tacky. We're doing really well. So the only thing you need to make sure is it really needs to be really flush with the edge. I don't want a lip or anything like that. So my third piece, I'm gonna pop that on there, and again, it's a little bit too long. It's just coming over the edge. So let's trim that down, pop it on, and I've got that perfect. So I'm going to add a little bit more glue here. I'm going to pop that in there and the edge as well. And we're going to concentrate very hard that we're getting it nice and straight. And there we go. Et voila. How easy is that to come together? Just wanted to adjust that a little bit more. And so give it a nice press down, but a gentle press down. Gentle but firm. I don't know if that's a thing, but we'll go with it. So now that's sort of all ready for my lid, but we're not going to pop that on yet, because what we want to do is we want to make sure these edges are not going anywhere. We want them really nice and strong and secure. So I'm going to pop that to the side. I'm just going to get rid of this bit of glue. And then we're going to create some corner strengtheners, we're going to call them. So I'm going to bring this in. I'm really going to move this so I don't want to knock it. Just going to bring in this. I'm going to cut lots of strips. So this is just a 12 by 12. It's 190 GSM. Use the sort of paperweight, so roughly around 180, 190, 200. If you get into the card weight, it adds too much bulk to your corners. So I'll show you what I'm going to be doing. So we're going to cut lots of strips. So I'm just going to cut that. I'm going to do it at 1.25, 1.5 roughly. And then the height of this. So the height of this. So remember, we've got, this is one, I think, did I say 1.25 of an inch? But you've got that tiny, tiny little bit of extra depth from the base that we've popped on. So if I turn that round, and I am just over the 1.5. So bring your piece of paper up to 1.5 inches and then just go over it. Bring in your box, pop it next to it. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to cut another one. There we go. So pop this to the side as well. I'm going to bring in my it's a paperweight, so you don't necessarily have to use the scoreboard, but you can. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to score it in half, and again, it doesn't need to be perfectly in half, and it's going to be covered up. So you've got a couple of pieces of paper or card, fold them in half and give them a score. And then we're going to bring this back in, and what we're going to do is we're going to glue this. Oh, I've scored that the wrong way. Bear with me. There we go. We're going to glue these. How have I cut one so small and one perfect? I've done it the same. I've scored it on both the wrong way. But again, it's going to be covered up, so you're not going to see it. We're going to pop those on the corner. It does a couple of things. It strengthens that corner. It strengthens where the mount board is meeting each other, and it's the same colour, so you know it's not going to stand out, but it strengthens it. It's like adding a metal corner or anything. So let's pop some glue on this. So I'm going to use my tacky glue because if I tend to be gluing anything to mount board, I always tend to use my tacky glue. And then we're just going to pop it over that corner. We're going to make sure it's nice and snug and firm. And then you feel very secure in your corners. You can use tape for this. I do have some tape that I use for my construction, but it's black. And because this is white, I'm not going to use it. If you've got any spare pieces of paper we've all got that little box that's got all those offcuts. If you've got anything like that, you can be just cutting up little bits and creating them. I don't understand how I cut that so small, but it really doesn't matter. Just bring your piece of paper in, trim it, or measure it, cut it in half, or cut it off, score it in half. We want a nice clean corner. And when I pop that on there, it's going to fit perfectly. And again, just trim it down, mince it, glue, and then that's our corners. You can do it on the bases as well. So cut some long pieces. So making sure that's really, really tight around that corner. Because if it's not, it's no good, is it? So I can see that that's just protruding over the top, so we'll trim it down. So I know you can't really see, oh, you can, can't you? So that's, my corners really strengthened now. You can do it on the inside as well. So again, if you want to, let me just trim a piece to size. You want to put some extra strength on the inside. You can do exactly the same there. And you've got your corners. This is actually brilliant. If you've glued all your mount board together and it's not gone quite straight or it looks a bit ugly in the corner, you're just going to cover it up. And again, two things. It strengthens it, it holds that mount board together, and it cleans up it makes it look nice and neat. It cleans up any especially if it's something if it's an exploding box or you've got a lid if this was a lid that we had on a hinge and was going to come up and I'd be able to see those corners, you could do it. But because once I've put this lid on, I'm not going to see those corners on the inside. So if I'm happy with the strengtheners on the outside, you don't need to add them on the inside as well. So this is going to pop on here. So we're going to make sure that before I glue it, that I'm happy with the size that I've cut. So line it up and just check all around the edges that you're happy with that. Before I put that the slice of glue, I was going to say, the bit of glue, and I dipped all the sides in, the edges. I can't do with that. With this, it's going to be a bit hard for me to do it that way. So it's entirely up to you. If you've got a steady enough hand, you're going to put a tiny strip of glue all the way around, or you can put it on that bit. It really doesn't matter. I feel I've got a steady enough hand, and I think if you take your time, it's going to be all right. So remembering we only need it on 3 sides. And again, we don't need to rush because it takes a good 30-40 seconds for the glue to be at its tackiest. Right. So I'm going to line up that back first. And then I'm just going to let it sit down. So you might need to pull these sides out a bit to get it in line. There we go. And gently, we're going to give it a bit of pressure. Concentrating, can you tell? It's the only time I'm quiet. So making sure it's all pressed down and it's joined equally. There we go. So if you lift it up, and can you see, you can see through here that you can see there is a little bit of a gap. So just, I can see it. Can you see there? Make sure that you've got contact all the way across. Once this has gone tacky enough, you can add a little bit more pressure now to make sure that it's stuck down on all three sides. There we go. So I'm just going to hold it for a couple of seconds more. And again, this is where you can bring in your strips. Even if you want to add a little bit of strength just to that back piece, you absolutely can. So we're just going to fold. I'm going to attempt to fold this in half. There we go. Middle to the outside. Give it a good burnish because you want that really sharp corner on there. And then it's going to go over there. Now, you know that I've put those corner pieces on, and you know what I've said about mitering because you don't want all that bulk. I could have mitered those a little bit, absolutely. But because I'm using a real lightweight paper, it doesn't matter so much. I'm not going to get a lot of bulk there at all. So I'm going to glue that on. Just going to glue the back piece on, again, just purely for time. You can do all those sides as well if you want. You can see how easy it is. So as I'm putting it on, making sure that we've got a real sharp, clean corner. Because it's not going to be doing its job if it's a little bit saggy. It's not firmly stuck down. So let me trim that because I know that's going over the edge a little bit. There we go. Oh, just a little bit more there. And I'm quite, so you can see, so it's real secure now. Really happy with that. And what I've done is, so all my side pieces are on top of the base and the top is on top of that as well. You could have created it where you've got your mount board on the bottom and your side pieces next to it. Now, I haven't done it that way because I feel you've got extra strength if you've got your mount board on top of the base. So if the side is on top of the base, if it's at the side of it, I feel that if you've got lots of weight on there, it's just not as strong, if that makes sense. So when I bring this in now and pop it on, it's firm, it's really structured, it's not going anywhere. And then I've got this piece here. I've just trimmed it a little bit. I wasn't going to put that corner on there, but I have done to show you guys how you can strengthen it. So if you have got those on there, then I wouldn't go down that 1/4 of an inch with your mat and layer. I would make exactly the same 6 by 6 as that. But again, once I've got all my decorative bits on, all those beads, all those flowers, all my lace, my ribbon, you're not going to see that at all. So again, let's add a little bit of ink to this like we did the roof, just to make it pop a little. And I'm using my antique linen. I love this one, but I'm not sure if it goes with my beiges and my browns or my yellows. It's one of those that you're not quite sure about. So we're going to pop that on there and we're going to glue it down. So again, making sure it's right up to the edges. Anytime I glue anything to mount board, I will always use my tacky glue. There we go. Pop that on there. And give it a nice squidgy down. Another tip, if you know that you are going to be putting something a lot heavier on this than what I am going to be doing, then double up your mount board. Just get another piece of mount board and glue them together. So you've got that double strength, that double wall. And then for the edges, I've got the matching paper to the roof. So we're going to pop that all around the edges. And these pieces are 6 inches. So it's the 6 inches wide and 1.5. Again, that fits on there and it gives me that seam, or that border, sorry. If you've got these corner pieces on and you haven't mitered them a little bit, don't give that mat and layer, or don't go down in size with that mat and layer. But again, pop your box together first and then do your mats and layers. I know we're supposed to mat and layer a box before we have built it, but when you're creating it with mount board, it's just as easy to pop them on afterwards. But don't tell Jan I said that, because she'll tell me off. So this back piece. And the thing is, because we've strengthened all those corners and everything like that, it's going to be absolutely fine. And you can see that once I get that on there, it's going to cover it all up. There we go. And then this next side. Sticky glue. Bring that over and pop it down. Just get rid of that bit of glue. It wants to come away. There we go. So there you go. That is that middle box. As easy and as simple as that. So we've got the middle box. We've got this, the birdhouse. Let me see if I can turn it over. There you go. It's coming together and it's all looking beautiful. It sits on, if I move that, you can see how that sits on absolutely perfectly. I've got roughly about 1 inch all the way round. But again, by doing it the way that I've showed you to do it, it's really easy for you to adjust all of your sizes. If you're wanting to do it smaller or a little bit bigger, It's just so simple. Obviously, it's one of those projects that it takes a little bit of time, but again, isn't it worth it? When you can see it all coming together like that, it looks amazing. Um, so we've done the roof, we've done the birdhouse, we've done the box. So I think the next thing to do is that stand. So I keep trying to bring in the wrong pieces. So that main stand. So let me bring it in and show you. So it's this bit now. It's just the stand. Very, very simple. Let me pop that over there. We've got a piece of card and it is 10 inches wide by 8 1/4. Now it's 8 1/4 because I've used a piece of my A4 cardstock, and that 1/4 of an inch is just going to be my tab. If you're using a bigger piece of cardstock, if you're using a 12 by 12 and you want a bigger tab on the end, by all means, have a bigger tab. So we have got 10 by 8 1/4, and each side is going to be 2 inches. So we're going to just create that tube. So let me bring in my scoreboard, and then on that 8 1/4, we're going to score at 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, and 8 inches, and then whatever size tab you want. It means each side of mine is 2 inches wide. And then I'm going to bring it round, and on the 10-inch side, we're going to score at 2 inches, and we're going to score at 8 inches. Then we're going to move that. And we're going to bring in our scissors. So my tab, I don't need it on that top piece and I don't need it on that bottom piece. I just want the tab in the middle. So we're going to trim that little bit away there. Just like that. And that piece there, we're going to trim away as well. So you can see I've just got that tab. Then this bit's going to be sort of the base and the top. So what we need to do is we just need to trim up all of these to that 2-inch score line. So you can see what happens is then when we bring it round, it's going to all fold in. That bit's going to glue to the birdhouse. This bit's going to glue to the base, and you've got a real sturdy stand. So we're going to do the same on this bit. Let's trim all of those up to that. That one went a little bit wonky, but that's all right. You're not going to see it. It's going to be folded over. So then we'll glue these closed at the top. We're going to glue them closed at the bottom. And that is literally your stand. So before we do that, I'm going to bring in some pattern paper. And I've already cut it from a 12 by 12 piece of, again, the paper from the collection. So I'm trying to keep the pattern following. So does that one want to go? I tried to keep it, there we go. Try to keep it in order of pattern. So the pattern follows round the stand. So if you don't have all those flowers over it like I have, if you've not got any texture paste or stenciling or anything, you've got that beautiful pattern that follows all the way round. So we're just going to pop these on. So we're going to glue these down. I'm going to use my collal for this. So bringing that on there. And again, you can ink the edges up if you want. This is all the decorative bit that you can be doing. So gluing those all up, making sure that they're all nice and in line. And then just these last two. Definitely time for a new bottle of glue. Popping that on, making sure it's nice and straight. Best way to make sure it's nice and straight is to fold it back up and make sure that your border at each side is nice and even. Definitely need to wiggle that up just a little bit. And then last one. Okay. There we go. So that's those 4 pieces done. Now, I know I went a little bit wonky on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that little bit of a wedge to some of them, just so I know that it's going to fold over nice and flat. The problem is if you wedge too much, when you try to line it up, and you've glued your base and you try to line it up, you don't have the straight edge to follow because you've got that little wedge there. So, but that's just the one that I went wonky on. I'm going to glue that top bit first because I know I've got all those straight edges. So then once that's glued, the bottom's just going to follow where it needs to go. Because I've got such a tiny tab, I'm going to use my tacky. Just bring that over, look, and it should just glue down absolutely perfect. So making sure goes over that way as well. Oh, it popped out. Suck it back onto there. There we go. Through this in, give it a good burnish. There we go. So there you go, that is it. So let's glue this top bit first. And it doesn't matter which way because it's you're not going to see it because it's going to be up and inside or in the middle of that box that we've just created. So now we can bring all these in and glue those as well. So bring that over. And we're just holding both sides until that glue goes off. But that is the third piece to this birdhouse. So when you break it down, how simple does it all come together? So there we go. I am making a bit of a mess though. Shall we tidy up just a little bit? There's little snippets of paper literally all over the laptop, everywhere. So there we go. So let me bring in this. So what's going to happen now is that's going to go in the middle. I'm not going to glue it on yet, but you can see it just fits lovely. So let's pop that to the side. And then the last little bit is the base. Again, very simple. And up to you how you create this base. We want it to be nice and heavy and secure. So I've used some mount board. So we're going 4x4 with the mount board. I've got some mats and layers here. So we've got 4x4 with the mount board with a piece of white card and pattern paper. We've gone down to 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. They're going to glue on there. I've got 3.5 by 3.5. That's white paper or white card, sorry. It's going to mat and lay there. And then we've got 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 with a pattern, and that's going to go on there. And this is going to stand in the middle. So literally we're just going to glue all these together now. So again, another nice and simple base that comes together so easy. Again, inking these off around the edges, embellishments and everything like that. You can really go to town or keep it nice and clean and simple. like the one that I'm creating. So my graphic 45 one, I absolutely went to town, on all those embellishments. But it's just as beautiful, clean and simple, which is this one that we are doing. And when done, I'll post all the pictures across on my social, so my Facebook and my Instagram, and my even got TikTok. I feel a little bit cool. I'm pretty sure that my daughter just is a little bit embarrassed that I've got a TikTok, but she told me to get it, so I did. And to make it nice and simple, everything is Michelle McCarthy Crafts. Um, so we're not going to get confused. I think I've even kept the same picture for all of those, because who needs to be wasting time searching when we can be watching and being inspired? So there you go. So that is my base. This is going to pop in the middle. But the next thing I did, so I've got this lovely fence die, and it's just about the perfect size for this. So it's going to go round the edges. You can see it on my other one, but there's lots of flowers and stuff going on with that one. So depending on which you want to, so decide which piece you want at the front. I'm going to roughly start sort of halfway with it. So you've got obviously almost like the garden gate or the opening. You don't have to have an opening at all, but I had my flowers spilling out on my other one. In fact, I'll show you. If I bring it in. So you see how I've got my flowers sort of spilling out of the opening. You don't have to have it like that. Again, this is the decorative bit, so it's entirely up to you how you're going to sort of go with it. So I'm going to roughly measure to this one here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one. So I'm going to fold this just after that fifth one. So it's going to go around that corner. Okay, and actually, if I do it round that corner, I think it nearly gets to the end. So popping that there, I want it to go right along the edge of here. You could have it where it's coming along the edge of this one if you want. Again, that's a decorative choice, a personal choice that you're going to do. So I'm going to bring in my hot glue gun for this one, and I'm going to ever so carefully pop a little bit of hot glue across the bottom, just of that one main piece. And I'm going to stand that there. So I'm just going to let that one completely dry before I glue. So I'm only gluing up the main pieces because they're the only ones that are reaching to the bottom. I mean, if you want to, you could trim, can you see? You could trim those pieces off and be able to glue the whole of the bottom of the fence. But once you've got the hot glue gun, you can sort of do it quite easy. So I'm just going to I'm lining it up to make sure that it's exactly, so this one, lining it up, you can't see, let me turn that off. So I'm lining this one up here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift it up a tiny little bit because I know exactly where I want to put my hot glue, and then I can bring it down to touch the hot glue. So let me just move that stand out of the way. It's getting in the way just a little. So there we go. And then again, we're just going to hold it in that hot glue till it dries. So there you go. Can you see? Just glued that one piece there. And this actually, it goes off the edge. So I can fold that round the corner. So standing that up now, I used a 300 GSM on this fence. So it's sturdy enough to sort of sit nice on there without me having to worry. So let me just fold that and make sure it's going to sit on the end of my mount board. And then when you've got it where you want it to be, which I have now, I can glue that. So let's pop a little bit of glue just on the edge. And there we go. Don't glue it to your glass mat like I just did. There we go. So you can see it's going around that edge. Absolutely lovely. So I'm going to do the same with this one. And because I know where I needed to put those sort of score lines on this side, before I even start attaching this one, I'm going to put those score lines in first. So what did we say? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to score there. And it was just after this one here, wasn't it? So we're going to fold that. And then helps if I score the right bit, doesn't it? So I've scored that in the totally wrong place. So we're going to start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If yours is a little bit different in size, you're using a different fence, you're just going to have to measure this yourself. It's easy enough to do. It's a little bit fiddlier for me because I'm trying to show you while I'm doing it. But there you go, look. That one sits. Let me bring it that way. Again, absolutely perfectly. So you've got that little opening where if you've got a gate die, it's going to sit in there perfectly. So I'm going to pop a little bit of glue on the bottom of there. I'm going to pop it down. So this is in line with the edge of my mount board. Let it grab. And then we're going to do the same here. So just lift up a second. I'm talking to it, said just lift up a second. Although I get more sense out of my projects than I do my children. You know what it's like when you try to talk to your kids. It is like talking to a brick wall, as my mum always said. So making sure that that is nice and straight. There we go. And then this last one. We go right there. And then bring that across. And again, just hold that. There we go. So that's coming together lovely. Then we've just got this back piece to do, which I'm going to bring this in for. And it's entirely up to you how you pop this back piece on. I'm going to, bear with me, have that right in the middle. So it's even, so the pattern's even. I mean, you don't have to, you could bring it entirely up to you. I'm gonna pop mine so it's right in the middle. So measuring that, I know that I need to cut that bit away up to there and that bit, because then those two pieces, let me cut them away first. So if I cut that edge piece away, just measure that again and again. Just measure and cut that. So I know now what I can do is I can pop glue on the back of that piece and the back of that one, and it's going to sit right in there. I'm going to use some tacky glue for this because then I've got enough time to wiggle it into place. If I use my hot glue, it's you don't have as much wiggle time. Just pop this in. There we go. Right, so put that on its side. And I need to make sure that that piece is to the bottom. So press that on that side and this one. Making sure it's nice and straight. So sort of pulling it out just a little bit so I haven't got my fence bowing. And then if I bring that up, you can see. And then what I'm going to do is the same as the rest. This piece here, I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue to the bottom so it's going to sit nice and secure. There we go. Oh, press that down into that hot glue. There we go. So now I've got my fence perfect all the way round. And don't worry about the hot glue. If you feel more confident and comfortable using the tacky glue like I showed you, put a bit on there and tap your fence into it and then hold it for a second or two. Do it that way. I'm not too bothered, even though I can see a little bit of hot glue coming around certain places. What I used to help and allow you to disguise that, there's a couple of things you can use. In mine, I used this. So I got this moss, this decorative moss. Now I got it from, I don't know, but I would imagine you can get it from um, any sort of place that you can get your flower arranging stuff from. I'm pretty sure that Dawn Bibby might sell stuff like this, the moss. In fact, I'm 99.9% sure that she does. I'm pretty sure I've seen her on Create and Craft with it. Because what you can do then is you're just going to pop it round and it looks fabulous. You've got this really sort of gardeny area. Now, if you haven't got any moss or it's not your thing, again, you can use this. Is it Sizzle or Sizzle? It's one of the two, isn't it? Now, Hayley from Dreamies sells these in loads of different colours. So if you want to use that, that's going to look nice in there as well. I love the moss. I think it just gives you the garden effect. But I'm going to get rid of that for now because what we want to do is attach this into the middle. So I'm going to use my hot glue. Again, you can use your tacky glue, your red liner and tacky glue. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to use my hot glue because it gives me that instant grab. So as long as you're very aware of where in the middle it needs to go, you do have a second or two to get it wiggled in place. But once it's there, give it a good press down and let it just grab, let it go off. And then you're done. So then what we're going to do next is we're going to bring this box in and we're going to do it upside down because it's going to make me easier for me to eyeball the middle of this. So we're going to glue this in the middle. Again, if you want to use tacky glue, if you want to draw a grid, because this is 2 inches by 2 inches and this is 6 by 6. So if you want to draw a grid so you can follow the grid to place it in the middle, you're not going to see it. So absolutely do that. Let me just get another glue stick before I start because I know I'm going to run out. So again, I'm going to hot glue this. Oh, losing my glue stick. And then I'm going to pop it in the middle. And then we're just going to give it a press. Oh, look, it looks lovely, doesn't it? Give it a good press. And then, so this is my front. And I've got my side opening at this side this time. It doesn't really matter. You can have the opening at the side, the back, the front. I did mean to have it on this side, but I did it upside down, didn't I? So I misjudged. but my album's going to go in that side. So the front, my album's going to go in this side, and then we need to bring this in. So apologies, we're getting too close to the camera, and we're going to glue this down as well. So obviously making sure that the front of this is in line with the front of your gate or your fence. Again, glue of your choice. I'm going to use the hot glue because it gives me that real instant grab, and I'm quite comfortable with lining it up. So I'm going to tip it towards me, and I can sort of by eye all four sides. Put your hand in that pocket, put your other hand inside your birdhouse and give it a nice good burnish. I don't know what I was going to say there, but burnish. There you go. So I think that is it. I know I haven't got all those decorative elements on, but if I bring in my roux and then lift this up for you, look at that. How simple. Lots of sort of smaller elements popped together creates that beautiful birdhouse. Now, the only other thing that you're going to be doing now is decorating. So that is, I'm not going to do that because that is entirely a personal preference. Lots of paper flowers, lots of die cut elements. I've got pearls on my other one. So if I bring it in again, this is I've got lots of ribbon around the edges. I've got lots of flowers here. I've got strings of pearls. I've got a little bit of broken up frame just sitting underneath there. And again, on this bottom bit, lots of flowers. This was a die cut that came with the die cuts with the Graphic 45 that I used. And if I turn it all the way round, there's even a little garden chair there. So you can see why I said it works perfectly. So if I lift, we just move that. If I lift it up a little, can you see I've got all the moss in there? It just looks absolutely fantastic. So we've got one that's very, very, I think shabby chic, busy. Is that a thing? Shabby chic busy is definitely a word we're gonna use. And then we've got a nice clean and simple. So you can see the difference. I will definitely decorate this up and then post the finish, but I don't think I will go to the lengths that I have done with this one. So how easy, how nice and simple is that? And I've done it in under 2 hours. I can't quite believe it. But so we're done. So that is all done. The album and the little bag that I created for the roof, I'm going to do in a separate video. So we're going to do another part 1 and then part 2 with those extra pieces. So as always, like, share, comment, let me know what you did and didn't like. Let me know if there's anything you would like to see. But I do hope that you will join me again. Definitely pop over to my socials and let me know what you thought about this. But that's it. That's me done for today. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.